Greetings, I am Pillar Nexus, the Ancient Gladiator, today with Pillar Loves Tabletop Games. Today with old trading card game known as HECATOMB. Here's here's the actual box it comes in for the starters. Yep. Goal of the game is to gather 20 souls, which give you the power to end the world, which will get you massive power because you are an Endbringer, and that's how you make your status in your existence. At the start of the game, you will have a 40 card deck. For demonstration purposes, these are 35. I'll explain later. No more than 3 copies of any card, but otherwise, you're free to build your deck as you see fit. There are 4 dooms to build your deck with. We've got Greed, represented with the color green, little hand symbol. We have Blue, Deceit, represented with a kind of sideways eyeball kind of thing. Corruption, represented with gray, kind of a brain looking thing, brain or nerve. And destruction, represented with color red. The symbol is kind of a pitchfork or a trident or something like that. So, building your deck, you'll want to have probably 2 dooms. Trying to go one color or one doom, maybe iffy. Trying to go 3 or 4, also just as iffy. Let's get into the actual gameplay before we get into the strategy. All right. At the start of the game, you will have shuffled your deck. You will have drawn 4 cards. You will have 5 souls that your opponent will be looking to take from you. A random first player will be decided, and they will take their turn. Turn sequence. The first thing you do is you get a soul. No matter what happens, you always get that soul at the start of your turn, and the moment you have 20, you win the game. If you do not win the game at this point, what you'll do is any cards that you have in play that are tapped will be untapped. So let's say you had this abomination in play. You would now untap the abomination. They are now free to be used again. And then you draw cards. The first player taking the first turn of the game draws 1 card. Otherwise, you will draw 2 cards when it gets to your turn. As part of your turn, you get to do the following. Play a card as a mana card. You are limited to doing this once per turn. It goes to your mana zone. It goes untapped. You are now free to use mana cards in your zone to play cards. So this this creates greed mana. This costs 1 mana, at least one of which must be greed. So we tap, we have the 1, we now have the Mindless Servant. So as long as you have at least one of the appropriate mana for the cost, like let's say on a future turn, I wanted to play Callow Believer, I would need to have at least 1 blue in my mana zone, tapped, play it. Okay. Cards that will go into play include minions. A minion that is played um, can be played by itself or can be played on top of another minion. At some point, you will start playing minions on top of each other to create abominations. A minion by itself cannot attack or block. If anything happens during combat to reduce an abomination to a single minion, it is immediately removed from combat. When you play a minion on top of another one, the first thing you'll check is there a trigger ability here? If the color matches, then it will trigger. If not, then it won't. For example, this one will not. This one, however, will. It will immediately do this effect. When you put a new minion onto an abomination, that abomination cannot attack that turn. However, you can attack with an abomination you've already had from the start of the turn, and then add another minion on top later that turn. Every new minion must be visible, so the maximum size for an abomination is 5. If you have abominations that started the turn in play in their current condition, you can then attack with them. You will declare which enemy you are attacking, and you will tap them. You have an opportunity to play combat fates and combat minions. Then your opponent will have a chance to do the same. For example, this is a combat fate. You will need to have the mana available and the target available, and you can play it and resolve its effect. For example, this one would be played in defense. Um, you target an attacking abomination and sever a minion from it. If it was a size 2 abomination, it's basically done. If you attack and they have, let's say they had in play an abomination that they could defend with, they would defend with that abomination. They would choose to do so by declaring as a blocker. So what happens is both minions will add up their combined strength and compare them to each other and inflict that damage. This strength of 3 is enough to hurt this 2, but not get to that 4, because there will only be 1 left over when this is destroyed. This 6 will fully stop and destroy this abomination. That actually gets to go back to the hand because of Regenerator. Let's say our abomination attacks and they have nothing to defend with. We take a number of souls from our opponent equal to the size of the abomination. A size 2 abomination takes 2 souls. Or reap. Reaps souls. Once an abomination is attacked, it is done for the turn. You can still play a minion on top of it. I believe you are limited to playing 1 minion per turn on top of an abomination. Or not. You could potentially have a ton of minions in hand and then stack them together in one turn. Yeah. Anyway, other things you can potentially do involve um, playing uh, fate cards. There are combat fates that can be played in combat. There as well as outside of combat, but regular fate cards can only be played on your own turn. Surrounded by idiots. Damn it. You can play a relic. A relic goes in play and it stays there. You can have any number of relics in play. Have fun keeping track of all of them. You also have the option to play a god card. This did not come with the starter decks. This is a card I've been holding on to for at least a decade. You'll know it's a god card because it's all in capital letters. It will have an one-time effect and then one continuous effect. If you already have a god card in play, when you play a new god card, the old one leaves. You're not allowed to have multiple gods. That just doesn't fly with them. Once you are done adding a mana card to your pool, adding minions, attacking, once you're done with all that, you declare the end of your turn. The next player takes their turn. Cards, souls, untap. At some point, somebody will hit 20 souls, and then the game will end. If you ever run out of cards in your deck, the game does not end. You're still getting the soul every turn. It's entirely possible to end the game just on autopilot. But it's not a good position to be in either. Why do I like this game? Okay, I have a weird kind of love, I wouldn't say hate, but kind of maybe disappointment relationship with this game. First off, it is grim dark as fuck. After the base set, there's Last Hallows Eve, which added some Halloween stuff, but mostly in the character of Blackjack. Um, and after that, they added Blanket of Lies, which adds aliens and stuff like Majestic 12 and Area 51, and a new special ability that triggers if the minion is being played as a size 1 abomination. There was supposed to be an expansion after that, but unfortunately the game was discontinued. The expansion, from what documents have been passed around, is called Sangral City. And for all you Magic players out there, it would have included a god card named Yawgmoth. Yeah, but unfortunately the game kind of fell apart before there. So yeah, it's very dark, which I don't always go for dark, but sometimes dark is fun, especially when you get to be the bad guy. And the see-through, the whole see-through card thing is just kind of interesting approach. You can potentially set up some interesting chains of abilities in the process of playing them. But of course, that's part of the problem. I'm going to show you two cards from the two starters that I got, and you're going to understand. You probably figured it out already. Reason why I'm not having two 40 card decks against each other. So here's one card with the corner chipped off. Here's another one with a corner that's bent. The fact that it's the rare card pisses me off. But after dealing with this game in the past, I've come to make my peace with the possibility of having to deal with that. So yeah, the make of the cards themselves is not, not always the best. There's a possibility that they might end up in a booster pack, and the process of sealing the booster pack ruins ruins a card or two. There's also the fact that five-sided cards don't exactly have their own dedicated deck box outside of the special ones they made that were made by Wizards of the Coast. Here, let me demonstrate with a card box that I currently have lying around. Hey, there's a name you haven't seen in a while. See how nice standard cards fit into a deck box or card box. So if we stretch back the back of the box a little bit, it might fit in there. But trying to put it in like sideways this way doesn't really work out too well. Trying to do it like this means, you know, we can't close it all the way. Yeah. But that said, if you can get some cards that are in good condition, um, make sure to take the time to actually separate them because they do get kind of stuck together. There's a reason why I'm playing this game on top of sheets of note paper because they were getting stuck to the battle mat. But yeah, find some cards in good condition, make your decks, play against your friends. You can play multiplayer too, which is interesting. It's just, a race to get 20 souls and potentially attack your opponents to take their souls away from them. And again, it's dark, but sometimes dark can be fun. So that's HECATOMB. All right. Let me know if you're also a fan of the game at all. Share whatever memories you've got of the game and any notable strategies and other fun times you've had with the game. And we'll see you next time. Thank you very much for watching. This has been Pillar Nexus.